Hello COMM104 scholars. This video is a brief video that's going to introduce you to 3 different types of brainstorming activities. Now, before I introduce these 3 brainstorming activities, it's important to remember and to just point out why it is we want to brainstorm and why brainstorming is important. There's a lot of different answers to that question, but the most important reason that we brainstorm in a college setting or even in a workplace or personal setting is brainstorming allows us to get all of our ideas out on the table so that we can create in-depth answers to questions, or we can create in-depth paragraphs when we have to write. A lot of times if we just sit down to write or to answer a question without brainstorming first, we give ourselves a disadvantage because we're not allowing ourselves to really assess all of the ideas we have about a topic. So I strongly encourage you, anytime you have to write something or do an assignment or answer a question, even if it's just a few minutes, consider one of these brainstorming activities. Brainstorming doesn't have to be a long, tedious activity. It can be short and simple. It just depends on what you need to use it for. But the goal, again, of brainstorming is to create a list of ideas so you can have an in-depth and detailed explanation in whatever it is you're doing. Okay, so brainstorming is important. We know that. Let's look at 3 different types of brainstorming activities that you can do. The first brainstorming activity in this workbook would be category list making. With this approach, what you would do is first set a timer for 5 to 10 minutes. After you set your timer, use the categories to jot down ideas that come to mind. Now, it might seem, the first question that comes to mind might be, how is this going to help me? But if you think about these different categories in relation to whatever it is you're writing about, you're going to be able to generate a whole bunch of ideas that you never maybe realized you had, and you can use those ideas to create interesting details into your assignments. So this is category list making. After category list making, another brainstorming approach is free writing. Free writing is essentially setting a timer for yourself and allowing yourself to just write. And this really builds on intrapersonal communication skills. We're allowing ourselves to communicate with ourselves on paper, really get all of our ideas that we have about a topic or assignment out onto paper. It's very similar to journaling. Now, the reason free writing works can be explained in one simple quote from a professor that I once had. I emailed this professor and I said, you know what, I just don't know where to start with this assignment. It was an assignment I was working on, and he told me, he said, all you have to do is start writing. He said, writing is meant to be messy. Just write your ideas out on paper and clean it up later. Oftentimes what prohibits us from feeling like we can be a successful student or professional is feeling like we're not doing it right, like everything has to be perfect the first time around, and that's not true. So free writing is a brainstorming approach that you can use to get all of your ideas out on paper, allow it to be messy, and then go back through and clean it up. So free writing is another way that you can brainstorm to get ideas out and add detail to your assignments. We've talked about category brainstorming and we've talked about free writing. The last one is an approach that really works well if you're a visual learner or a visual thinker, or you just like to be hands-on. Cluster brainstorming is using a chart like what you see here to break down your ideas about a topic using visual methods. So say you're writing about your favorite foods. You'll use these boxes then to write about categories that you have, ideas that you have about favorite foods. And then you would use these subpoints as ways to brainstorm, additional ideas or details you might want to share about a topic you're going to write about. But this, again, is another way to brainstorm that can help you potentially come up with ideas and sub-ideas when you're writing a paragraph, okay? All right, so if we scroll back up to the top, in this video, you learned why brainstorming is important. It's important because it allows us to get all of the ideas we have about a topic or situation out on the table so that we can create detailed, critical thinking, and we can use that in our written assignments. 3 ways to brainstorm that we talked about would be category list making, free writing, and cluster brainstorming. Feel free to use this blank template for your own brainstorming. An attachment is included in the section of the course with this video. If you have any questions, reach out to your instructor, but as always, stay motivated.